Hey, Aynor Middle School, how you guys doing? Guys, hey, I'm excited to be here with you guys today. I wish I could be there in person, but to the unfortunate circumstances due to this pandemic, we wasn't able to have this live in person Black History celebration. But but again, guys, I'm glad to be a part. My name is Carl Dukes. Most call me Coach Dukes. I teach up at North Myrtle Beach High School. I was the head wrestling coach here for maybe 3 years in a row. We had some pretty solid teams during that time, and they still do as well. Um, I stepped back due to some other priorities and goals I wanted to attain. But guys, to start off with this Black History Month, two major influences on my life after researching these guys in depth through part of my current education program that I'm going through was Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois. I want to just break down who these guys were and the positive effect that they had on African Americans during their time period. Now, these guys was from the late 1800s, early 1900s. Okay, so it's some time ago, right? I know you guys thinking, man, wow, that's been a long time, but yeah, it has been. But these guys was really the tone setters when it came to the education for African Americans. Okay, now Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington. Now he was a guy who he was born as a slave in Virginia. Okay, he was born as a slave in Virginia. He was set free under the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. Once he became a free man, he took off. He left Virginia. He left Virginia, started walking down south. When he started walking down south, he realized it's the perfect time for him now to educate himself. So self-education was a big deal to him. He believed that if we want to learn something, we need to educate ourselves, no matter what. And that's what he did. He sought knowledge, he searched for knowledge, and he found knowledge in the process. And he became a very educated African American during this time. He was also a great activist, a great leader for the African American community. In 1881, he founded the Tuskegee Institute, which is located in Alabama. Still to this day, it's still a highly attended historical Black college. HBC is what they call it. Okay. In 1901, President Theodore Roosevelt invited Booker T. Washington to come to the White House to dine with him. Okay. Now, Theodore, I cannot say that name, guys. Forgive me. Roosevelt. He was the 26th president during that time, if I'm not mistaken. He was the 26th president. Okay, so he invited him, African American, to the White House. During that time, that never happened. Well, let me take that back. Okay, let me take that back because Frederick Douglass actually went to the White House when Abraham Lincoln was in the White House. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president. Okay, but Frederick Douglass, it wasn't an invite like it was for Booker T. Washington. Okay, I'm not gonna get into that, but I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, guys, because I really want to focus on Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois. Okay, so now, but when it came to education, Booker T. Washington believed that, hey, African Americans, we need to learn how to use what we know how to do so naturally that we've always been doing since we've been in slavery, was working with our hands. He felt like vocations was the way to go for African Americans, such as carpentry, welding, electrician, maybe chefs become a chef. Anything to do with working with your hands, he felt like that's the way we need to go as African Americans. And the reason why, because he felt like economically we could benefit more by doing vocation type jobs, right? But W.E.B. Du Bois had a different understanding and say so when it came to that. Okay. Let me tell you guys a little bit about W.E.B. Du Bois so I could cross-reference back and forth a little bit so that it makes sense. W.E.B. Du Bois is a little younger than Booker T. Washington. Okay, so he came a little bit kind of right after Booker T. Washington when he was kind of dwelling it out. All right. But W.E.B. Du Bois is from Massachusetts, and now he was born a free man. Okay, he was born a free man, and in 1895, he was the first African American to graduate from Harvard with a PhD. He's the first African American to graduate from Harvard with a PhD. That's big. Right? That's exciting, man. Because he really set the tone. I think he attended 4 universities before. I think he attended Harvard twice. I think he got a master's from Harvard also, if I'm not mistaken. But I think he attended Harvard twice. And 2 other schools after that. But I mean before that. But he also, W.E.B. Du Bois also founded the NAACP. Okay? The NAACP is an organization that stands up for African Americans when their rights are being violated or they're being oppressed in any kind of way. Okay, you probably hear about them now in the news a lot now. When anything goes wrong or goes left with African American, NAACP will step in to help protect them, provide lawyers, provide them knowledge or wisdom on whatever the situation may be for them to overcome it and come out on top. In 1961, W.E.B. Du Bois, he got so fed up with the United States of America that he decided to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to live in this country no more. I'm renouncing my citizenship and I'm moving to Ghana. That's what he did. He moved to Ghana. Ghana is in Africa. He moved to Ghana because he felt like, hey, Booker T. Washington, he felt like in order for African Americans to get ahead, it's okay to be passive. Pretty much just put your head down, do what you got to do, work hard for what you want, and so be it. And you're going to be okay. W.E.B. Du Bois said, you know what, I'm not putting my head down for nobody. I deserve to be here just as much as them. I deserve that. I deserve to have just as many rights as everyone else. I was born a free man, so therefore, I see myself as equal to any other man. And when I do see otherwise, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna make a fuss about it. I'm gonna make sure that people hear me let everyone else know that equality is the key, and it's the number one thing that we have to fight for. He was very aggressive when it came to equal rights. He didn't let anything slide on that. Booker T. Washington, on the other hand, he was more okay. Hey, let's just accept racial subordination as a necessary evil. He felt like it's okay to accept racial slurs and racial oppression as a necessary evil in order to get ahead in life. But not W.E.B. Du Bois. W.E.B. Du Bois wasn't going for it. Okay? Also, listen to this, guys. Listen to this. Now, W.E.B. Du Bois, when it came to education, Booker T. Washington, right? He said, you know what? Vocations is the way to go. W.E.B. Du Bois said, nah, man, that's the old way. We could do more than that. We know we could be culinary. We know we could culinary and become a chef. You know, we know that. We know we could be a welder. We know we could be a carpenter. We know that. We got that. But hey, why not educate ourselves through education, through the book standpoint, not so much hands-on, but become doctors and lawyers or anything else they want to become through education. W.B. is like, hey, let's do this thing. Let's stop thinking so small and stop limiting ourselves to only vocations, and let's become these doctors and lawyers to a whole nother level. Let's educate ourselves to a whole nother platform where not only where we could put ourselves in position, but we could put others just like us in position as well, because now, since we done made it to this point, now others can follow us and feel confident and assured that they could also do something different than becoming a welder or a carpenter or electrician or anything like that. We could become doctors, lawyers, anything else. Okay, we don't just have to be this over here, right? That was the big difference between these two guys. Booker T. Washington, passive, believed that, hey, if we want to be equal as African Americans, then we need to do things the right way by keeping our heads down, not cause no trouble. Be passive, let things be. W. Du Bois believe, no, we got to stand up for our rights and what we believe, such as equality, and also we could attain any high degree possible that we want to when it comes to us educating ourselves. No one should be able to tell us how far we could go with that. Now, when you hear about both of those guys' stories, both of those guys are correct. Both of them are correct. Vocations is still good. Vocations is still good. Not everyone is meant to be a doctor or lawyer. Not everyone is meant to go to college. Once you get done with high school, some people want to go straight into the workforce. Some want to join the military. Some want to go to Georgetown Tech and go to culinary school and become a chef or electrician or a carpenter or a welder. Nothing wrong with those jobs, guys. Those jobs all come out making 65, 70 grand a year. That's just a starting rate. You got guys over here that want to go to college. Nothing wrong with that. Those guys go to college and become these doctors and lawyers or teachers or business owners, anything. But they both could be successful, right? It's all about what you want and how hard you are willing to work, because they both will require hard work ethic. I promise you. Now, guys, the reason why I chose these two African Americans for Black History Month, because, guys, I am currently working on my PhD also, my doctorate. So I felt like in order for me to be a doctor, which is an expert, I personally have to know where education started for me. No one could be an expert in anything unless they know whatever it is I think they're studying, where it started for them. You have to know the beginning in order to understand the ending. Okay? So now, guys, a little bit about myself. Okay? A little bit about myself, guys. I'm from Conway, South Carolina. Most of you guys are up the road. Aynor, you guys are up the road. You know exactly where that's at. If not, your parents do, I'm sure. Okay? But it's right up the road from you guys, 15 miles maybe. I don't know. But look, I'm from this area called Cockham Projects. And I'm also from Race Path. I lived in the projects. Grandma lived on Race Path, right? So everywhere I went, guys, I was in a tough environment, tough neighborhood, right? Okay? Now, understand this. When I was you guys' age, 7th, 8th grade, okay? I personally I stayed in a lot of trouble. I stayed in a lot of situations due to my environment situation, due to my home situation. It caused me to make certain decisions or be exposed to certain things um, that were just normalized in our environment, which also forced me to grow up fast. Therefore, by the from the age 9 to 14, guys, I was in and out of a juvenile facility, or I was on probation, or I was doing classes such as drug and alcohol classes, all these other different things to kind of help steer me back on track. But at the end of the day, when you're from a certain situation, a certain environment, you can't do anything but play the cards that you was dealt. And that's what I did to the best of my ability. I played the cards that was dealt of me because I couldn't help who my parents were and what situation I was born into. I couldn't. I had to play those cards to the best of my ability. And no, I didn't always make the right decisions while I was playing those cards. But by me making those wrong decisions taught me how to make the right decisions the next time. Okay. So now, speed things forward. My freshman year in high school at Conway High School, I quit school. I quit school as a freshman. You know why? Because I felt like, hey, I had other things I needed to get done. Mama need bills paid. We need food in the refrigerator. I need clothes to wear, school clothes, bummy and busted. So in my mind, I'm joining the business, right? So I started doing some things I should not have been doing, but hey, that's what we did in the type of environment that I grew up in. Okay. So I got involved with drugs, selling drugs at the age of 13. And those things again was providing for me and my family at the time. No, it wasn't right, but in my eyes, it wasn't wrong either. So with that, I ended up back in the juvenile facility my freshman year, midway through, because I quit in the beginning, so I wasn't even in school the whole time. But the crazy thing is, Trevor Scrodman, which was the assistant principal at Conway High School at the time when I was a freshman, great guy, okay, great guy to this day. All right, he and I still have a great relationship. But he was assistant principal. Now he had to expel me in the beginning due to the things that I was doing and involved in, right? But the thing is, I made him do it because he always tried to help me as much as he could. He always tried to help me as much as he could. But it came times when certain situations he had to follow through protocol and do what he had to do, and I respected that, right? So I was expelled. I couldn't come back to school. It was over with. Dr. Maxey, who was our superintendent now, was actually the principal at Conway High School at the time. So those guys are like, hey, man, hey, sorry, man, you got to go. All right, cool. I go and I'm full speed in the streets. I do what I do. I get my money. I roll. I take care of what I need to take care of at home, right? So that's how it was for me at the point. But being in juvie the last time, I'm sitting in there. I'm like, oh man, and I lost too many of my friends. I didn't carry maybe three caskets at that point in my life. I'm talking about from guys that I grew up with from the sandbox, cousins and just friends, more like brothers. These guys like my brothers, because we all grew up together. Either they mom smoked dope, my dad smoked dope. Mama worked all the time at a hotel doing housekeeping work still to this day. So we all we really had. So we bond together and grew up together, helped raise each other, looked out for each other. But when you lose people coming through the environment situations I came up through, it's hard. It makes life even harder. It makes decisions more easier to make that most looking at my situation from the outside in, they would see it as hard to make. But so guys, when so fast forward, I'm back in the system, right? So while I'm in there, I'm just like, man, my back against the wall. I feel like I done tried everything. I never had much of a childhood, so I lived so fast so early. I already felt like a grown man, and I'm 14 at the time, right? But I'm sitting in there and thankful God, The whole time I'm thinking like, man, I'm in here. I can't make no money. I can't do what I need to do. I got my girl at home. I got, come on, you know, I got a lot going on back home. But now I'm in here. I can't do none of that. That's what I'm thinking. Man, I'm on the road again. But look, in reality, God was really saving me. At the rate I was going, as fast as I was moving, the things I was involved in, there's no way I would have made it long far as living or without being incarcerated. There's no way. The last time God sat me down and spoke to me and told me, you should have been dead, but God decided to give you should have been dead, but I decided to give you a second chance. For some reason, that spoke to me when the preacher said it. I was sitting inside church in my pod, and one day the preacher said that, and that spoke to me. And I felt it. I knew it was real, because then I started having flashbacks and situations that I never knew how I got out of when I was in the streets. I never knew how I got out of it until that moment when he said that. Because when I would have flashbacks, I could never think, like, how did that turn out that way? Because when you're in the streets, guys, you move so fast, you don't have time to think about what's happening. You just move to the next thing. The streets is fast. Just move to the next thing. Move to the next thing. Keep going. Shot me down, got me thinking. So my mind, I'm like, man, he is right. I ain't got nothing to lose at this point. He steady talking, the preacher steady talking. Tell me how God good is, and you know how he's solid. Like, he's someone I could depend on. Because my whole life I couldn't depend on nobody. I never depended on nobody. I always made a way for myself and figured it out on my own. So he telling me this God thing about that. I'm like, I don't know, but the more I'm listening, the more it sounds real. So I say, you know what? I done tried everything else. Why not try this God thing to see what God can do, right? So I did it. And when I did that, when I accepted God to be my Lord and Savior, be the person that I follow and honor, person that I trust in, he blessed me. I came home my sophomore year. I came home with a different focus, still with the same grind and the hustling mindset. But at that point, it was a different product. I wasn't selling drugs. I was hustling my books. What I mean by that is the same all-nighters I used to spend on the block when I was 13 and 14 years old, selling drugs. I started pulling the same all-nighters in my books. My reading levels was on the 3rd or 4th grade level. I'm supposed to be a sophomore. My math skills on the 5th or 6th grade level. I'm supposed to be a sophomore. I was so far behind guys academically that I had to hustle. I had to grind. I had to put extra time in to catch up, to teach myself, to go to tutoring after school, whatever I had to do to get myself to the skill level that I needed to be in order for me to be successful. I always wanted to be successful. I just ain't never know how. So I went through. I came back. They allowed me to come back. It was this is when I first knew God was working. Also, because look, when I came back to school, Dr. Maxey and Trevor Scroderman, which is Dr. Maxey principal, current superintendent. Trevor Scroderman is the assistant principal, current assistant superintendent down in Charleston, right? But anyway, so now these guys bring me back in. Before they put me out last time, the year before that, they told me, they said Duke said, well, Anthony, look, hey, you got too much influence in our school. We can't have you in the school no more, man. We have to expel you from Horry County schools, right? We have to expel you. We have to maybe put you on homebound or whatever. We can't even see you to the altar. Okay? You got too much influence, too much going on around you. Now that's what they told me before they put me out. Now, when I came back from juvie and had another meeting, now they decided to give me a second chance for some reason. I don't know what it was. I just know it's been God. They decided to give me another chance. In my mind, I'm like, man, they told me before I left, and now they're telling me they're gonna give me another chance. As long as I play sports, I had a contract. Play sports all year. I couldn't miss no unexcused days. I couldn't have no unexcused tardies. I mean, I had a tight line I had to walk, and that was easy for me to break compared to who I used to be at that moment. but I done grew and developed and had my mind made up. I knew that wasn't going to affect me. So I got into wrestling, became a wrestler, became pretty decent, and I did football. You do football in the fall, wrestle in the winter, football in the spring. I was back on. I was staying busy, staying focused. And while I was doing all that, God was blessing me, so allowing people to come into my life to help support me where I didn't have to hustle for certain things that I usually do. So it just started really unfolding, and I never stopped. I never stopped. That's why I'm here to this day, guys. I went out to play college football, walked on. Everybody was saying I was too short to play linebacker in college. Walked on, became a 3-year middle linebacker starter at North Greenville University. I did have 2 wrestling scholarships. I could have went to the Citadel Newberry, but wrestling was my thing. I just did that because I was on a contract, but I got real good at it in the process. So I said, no, I'm gonna do what I want. So I said, I'm gonna go to foot. I'm gonna go to North Greenville, walked on, and I'm gonna earn me a scholarship. And that's exactly what I did. Graduated from North Greenville, undergrad in education and communication, early childhood and communications. North Greenville brought me back as a graduate assistant, where they paid for my first master's degree, where all I had to do was coach. So I stayed and did that for 2 years. I got a master's degree. When I left there, I went to Francis Marion. I got another master's degree in special education. Now I'm finishing my doctorate. I'm on my dissertation currently in educational leadership, K through 12. So hopefully by this time this year, December 2021, I'll be walking across that stage as Dr. Deuce. But the crazy thing is, guys, I quit high school as a freshman. Mom ain't graduated high school. Dad ain't graduated high school. Sister ain't graduated high school. I'm the only one out my house graduated high school. Only one out my house graduated high school. And now I sit and think and look, and I'll be like, man, God, what are you doing? God just keep blessing me and protecting me and leading me. He keep doing it to me. But this is the message, guys. This is what I want to give you. Guys, I lost my dad back in 2009. He got some bad dope and it busted his heart and killed him, right? So through that process, from the beginning up to this point, adversity I've been going through to try to throw me off track. But I can't, because God has a purpose for me and a plan for me that I have to execute. He made it clear to me up to this point, and I know what I gotta do. I know what I gotta do. So guys, I want to encourage each and every last one of you right now, you 6th and 7th and 8th graders at Aynor Middle School. Guys, education is very, very important. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to go to, guys, you don't have to go to college. What Booker T. Washington say? You could get you a trade, guys. You can go right into the workforce. You go into the military, or you could get you a trade, a vocation. You could become a carpenter. You could become a chef, electrician, a welder. Whatever you want to do and be, you can. What W.E.B. Du Bois say? If you want to go to college, you go to college. You get that 4-year degree. You become a teacher like myself and the teacher that's teaching you currently. If you want to pursue a higher degree after that and get a master's degree, guys, go for it. Go get that master's degree. Hey, guys, at that point, it's all about what you want. And don't let no one stop you or discourage you or belittle you because of maybe your environment and your current situations. Because you may not have all the resources at hand at that moment, but that don't mean that you still can't be successful. Look, guys, look at all the adversity that I went through from the beginning. Do you not know how hard that was? Sometimes I open the refrigerator and nothing in there. Not see your mom or dad for a couple of days or whatever. Guys, listen to me. Listen to me. There's no excuses for you not to become who you want to become and who God created you to be. No excuses whatsoever. Okay. But guys, I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna end with this. And this is a quote from Booker T. Washington. He says, "Go slow, be patient. Equality will come eventually." That's what Booker T. Washington say. All right. He says, "Go slow, be patient. Equality will come eventually." That's okay, because it will. But guys, thank you guys for listening. I thank each and every last one of you. Thank you, Miss Generette, for listening and reaching out to me. Miss Generette, guys, great woman. I'm not sure if I ever met her in person, but I know her husband very well. Coach Generette is he's one of my guys. He's one of my guys. He always been there for me from the beginning, okay? When I was in it going through my thing, he always looked out for me when he was at Conway during that time. Okay, he always been a great guy, solid guy. He's at South Florence High School now as a head coach. But I always got a lot of love for that guy and also his wife. But thank you guys for the invitation for me to come and be a part of you guys, African American Black History Month. I hope and pray that our kids receive something from Booker T. Washington, W.B. Bowes, and myself on this day, because it is very important that our African American young boys and young girls know who they are and know who they can become, no matter what, if they work hard and do what it takes to become who they want to become. Thank you guys. Coach Dukes.